All right, so welcome to the first October Thursday Thoughts. Very spooky, you all, and it is very spooky because we've got leaders on the call tonight. So we've got principals, assistant principals, district level leaders. We've got it all for you tonight on the call. We're talking about everything ed leadership. Now, before we get started for tonight, I just want to remind you that these sessions are they are recorded for later use in our archives by SCAMLE and for our member resources and professional learning. Also, I encourage you to go visit us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and probably Twitter. And these sessions are, in fact, again, thank you, sponsored by your SCAMLE. Now, there's lots of opportunities to get involved with SCAMLE. You should check them out at www.scamle.org. Remember that our annual conference is quickly approaching in March. So if you're interested in presenting or applying to present in March at our conference, you're encouraged to do so. Also, remember there's lots of ways to get involved with professional learning. Drop me an email. Don't be a stranger. I would love to hear from you. More hands, the better, right? More work makes light work. So make sure you please reach out to us at scamlepd@gmail.com or again at www.scamle.org. All right, so Thursday thoughts on this very spooky 5th of October. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Evanson Atkinson, and I'm the Professional Learning Director for SCAMLE. But like you, I wear lots and lots of hats. During the day, I serve as the instructional coach in Greenville County Schools at Ralph Chandler Middle School. Been doing that for quite a while, super proud of that work. I'm also an ELA teacher for more than 20 years, and I'm a wife and a mom and a friend. And like you, again, it's heavy. There's a lot to be done, and the work is never done, right? The work of education is never done. The work of life is never done. And so we hope that this hour is going to be, is going to fly by. And I guarantee it will. We'll have you back on the couch watching Netflix in no time. I promise. Our executive director tonight, Dr. David McDonald, is on the call tonight. Yes, this is his professional photograph from the Greenville County Schools website. Welcome, Dr. McDonald. How are you? Really? He chose this time to go to the potty? Really? Is that what we're doing? Apparently so. Dr. McDonald must be busy detained elsewhere taking a call, but he is on the call, and he'll pop on and off throughout the night. So as you see him, please be sure to make him feel welcome. Our board president, Mr. Jeff Jenkins, is on the call tonight. Please make him feel welcome. Welcome aboard, Mr. Jenkins.
Hey, everybody. It is good to see everyone here tonight. Just a special thank you to our presenters, and a shameless plug that the State Middle School Conference is coming up in March, and I'll be dropping in the links here where you can register for the conference and also submit your presentation proposals. And we always look forward to our very talented presenters from across the state each year at the conference. Special thank you to our guests who are going to serve on the panel tonight, and appreciate y'all's time and dedication to helping to advance middle level education across the state.
Awesome. And thank you, Mr. Jenkins, as well as, again, SCAMLE for their continued support of these sessions. They could not be brought to you without the board's continued support of this really important work. All right, so before we get started on to our first topic, which you're going to love, and we're talking everything ed leadership tonight, I want to go ahead and introduce you to our very fantastic talent on board. So we've got Jean Cameron. Jean, what do you do? Where you hail from? What are you up to these days?
I'm a product of South Carolina Public Education from Berkeley County. I am presently serving as the principal at Lugoff-Elgin Middle School, South Carolina's first school to watch in Kershaw County. I'm in my 6th year as principal at Lugoff-Elgin Middle School. I had the opportunity to teach there many years ago, and in my 13th year of educational leadership. I am originally a band director by trade, spent 15 years in the band room, taught a lot of various other things along the way, arts related, and even a little English along the way as well, because I was told once upon a time, you have 12 hours of English on your transcript, you can do it for a year. So
I love that. That's fabulous. Well, thank you. We're happy to have you tonight. We're also joined by Dr. Dobbins. Dr. Dobbins, what are you up to? Where do you hail from? Who are you? All the details. We want it all.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you. Thank you for the opportunity. Originally from Southwest Virginia, a little town called Dublin, Virginia. So, product of my dad was a band director for 30 years. So, got inducted into the teaching world by setting up band chairs every Monday morning. And so, that just kind of sparked an interest. I was an athletic trainer. So I worked as an athletic trainer and teacher in a high school for a while. In Spring Valley High School over in Richland too. So that kind of got me into the door with education. So I was an alternative certified teacher. So kind of didn't have that education background, but just started growing into loving the profession, loving the area. Worked into an assistant administrator, assistant principal at Spring Valley. And then 2 years ago, came over here to Mid Carolina Middle School where I serve as principal. So excited to join. My wife has been a 20-year veteran in middle school. And so she said, welcome to the dark side, coming from high school to middle school. So I have loved every second of it. We were redesignated for our second redesignation last year at Mid Carolina Middle School. So we're excited to be in the family there and just look forward to contributing and just growing middle level education.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And welcome aboard for tonight. Should be a good thing. Also, we've got Kyle Pearson on the call tonight. Hey, Kyle, how are you? Where do you hail from? What's your story? What do you bring tonight?
Hi, well, I'm Kyle Pearson. Originally, I'm from Aiken, South Carolina, little town outside of that, but nobody knows where that is. I went to a place called Silver Bluff High School, went to Clemson, was going to be at work at a bank, and then decided I didn't want to do that. And I love teaching, so I taught for 12 years. Greenville County gave me the opportunity to be an administrator, so I was a AA at Malden for 2 years, and this is my third year as an assistant principal at Fisher Middle in Greenville County. So I'm also married to a teacher. She's a elementary music teacher, so my family is all teachers. My sister's a teacher. I have brothers who are brother-in-laws who are teachers and all kinds of stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. Happy you're here with us tonight. And we're going to round it out tonight with Dr. Julie Marlowe. Julie, who are you? Where do you come from? And what are you up to?
Oh, originally from Charleston, and I am a career changer, just kind of like Dr. Dobbins is. I didn't start teaching until I was 38, math and science teacher in the middle level. I absolutely adore middle level kids because they just keep it real. I'm a little different than the other panelists. I'm not an administrator, but I am an instructional coach and currently in the role of international teacher coach because we have a lot of international teachers and we are helping them understand the ropes of our classrooms.
Awesome. And well, if that's not an adventure, girl, I don't know what is. That's cool. I bet you that's an adventure every day. Absolutely. All right, so we'll get to the content for tonight, and the format for this is actually pretty simple. So I've prepared a few pieces for us to take a look at. Remember, for those in the gallery, the chat is always open. So if you think something and something sweeps across your mind, please be sure to share it with the rest of us. And then we'll see what everybody has to contribute here. So the first, I want to draw your attention to these effective leadership behaviors. It's never, I've never met someone, teacher or otherwise, who says, that's a really great principal because they wear really cool clothes. Right? They say, we say, well, I have a really great principal at my school because they do these things. There are effective leadership behaviors. There are things that they do intentionally in order to nurture the culture, nurture the people, nurture the instructional program, just in general, nurture the school building that they serve. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at this video clip, and I cut it at a critical moment. It's from a long time ago, y'all, but it's from a teacher actually or a principal that you may know. So I want you to be looking out very specifically for what you see as effective leadership behaviors, and then we're going to accentuate those right after.
You ready to answer?
These second graders in Columbia, South Carolina are about to come face to face with a class of second graders halfway around the globe in Jordan.
Good morning, South Carolina. Good morning. Good morning.
This teleconference is just part of the technology-rich 21st century curriculum mix at Forest Lake Elementary.
We want you to meet our principal, Dr. Cannon.
Spearheaded by South Carolina's Elementary Principal of the Year, Cappy Cannon.
Good morning,
morning, girls and boys.
I don't think there's a school in the world where you have a regular classroom where everyone is exactly the same. Our school is a microcosm of the world. So we work very hard to make sure that we know where children are. We don't take time to teach things that they already know. We try to go where they are and take them as far as we can.
What are you working on?
Oh, I'm working on swamps.
If we all speak the same language, that we're all on the same page, when children are getting the same messages from all of us on what our expectations are, we know that they are going to have much greater achievement.
75% of us got that right.
Our focus is on preparing children for the 21st century. We know that they have to have science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to be successful. So we make sure that we do have a shared vision. And that shared vision is something that's always being tweaked and changed a little bit here and there as we find our way to making the best decisions on behalf of students.
What's our challenge this time? What are we researching? Yes, sir.
Classroom community is something that's extremely important. And you can't build a classroom community the first week of school or the first month of school. It is an ongoing process.
Who can tell me what we can tell by the graph?
Is that for me?
It's also something developmentally that the way it looks in kindergarten might be different than the way it looks in 5th grade.
So that's what they're going to be the experts about, and they're going to present that to us.
But at the same time, building that culture of excellence and having the personalization with the students. You know, bottom line is this: you can have all the tools and all the bells and whistles, all the technology, but it still is going to boil down to one thing: the relationship between a teacher and the student.
Can you make someone else feel great this morning? Who would you like to compliment?
We have created our own walkthrough form, which is an observation. It's not an evaluation. And we call that our failure is not an option form. And what we did was we tried to think of all the things that we have worked on in the past few years. Maybe we've gone to a workshop. It might be professional reading that we have done, conversation, staff development, collectively put it all together to make sure that we're doing what we say that we're doing and to stay focused and to stay on track.
And you like spending that time with him? Tyler?
We also have times during the year where all of the teachers will go in each other's classroom. And again, it's a non-threatening type of process, and you can get just that one snapshot of going in someone else's room and seeing how they have taken some of the same information that you have been given and they're using it in a different way.
You are the best Arabian Night I've ever seen. You're just
you.
awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
If I were to advise anyone on how to get started with training, it would be to find those in your building that have a natural interest in technology and invest in those folks. And you really have to be strategic with that, and it can't be a hit and miss.
All right, so here's your goodness gracious. There it is. Okay, so what is the most impactful leadership behavior that you saw in the video? And why do you think that is? Drop your ideas in the chat. But I'm going to actually start us off here. Jean, what's the most impactful leadership behavior that you saw in the video that you're like, yep, that was it. There it is.
It was more what I heard than I saw. The comment, doing what we say we are doing. We can talk the talk, but if we're not walking the walk, it's all words and they're meaningless. So we can talk about things and say that we are doing things, but if we're not really doing those things with fidelity, we're lost. We need to have that direction. We need to have the ability to speak to the ideas that we've put out in front of ourselves, the goals that we put out in front of ourselves. We got to walk the walk if we're going to talk the talk.
So Kyle, as an assistant principal, what do you do on those days when you know what they should be doing? I mean, we all know what we should be doing, but we're tired. There's a pep rally at 3:30 and like the kids are wild. And like, how do you support the professionals in your building at moments like that? When, as Jean pointed out, like when we know what we should be doing, but implementation with fidelity is every single day. We're doing what's best for kids.
Well, she kind of mentioned it, but she talked about that culture. And I think you really have to start building that culture from day one in your building, and just that there is a standard that is set, right? And that kind of goes along with what Jean was saying, where, if you set that expectation and that's what you do every day, then regardless of whether there's a pep rally or it's Christmas or there's a full moon, the kids understand what the expectation is, the adults understand what the expectation is, and then you go in and inspect what you expect. And then you give the feedback necessary to maintain that culture. And if there are things fraying, then you bring your faculty back together, you bring the kids together, you do whatever you need to do to maintain that culture of excellence that you set in your building.
For sure. Thank you. And Dr. Dobbins, he just used a bad word. I don't know if it's a bad word. Maybe it's a hot button word. Culture. Wow. That's hard. That's hard. What do you see as the principal's role in the culture, sustaining a positive culture, developing a positive culture in the school? Like, why is that important?
And again, she referenced being on the same page. It's establishing. We talked about that. They mentioned the expectations there. It's a draining profession. You talked about it's the end of the day. It's a pep rally. We had a staff meeting yesterday, and we had a guest from the outside who maybe wasn't quite in touch and said some words that just. I said, it was probably an epic fail on my end because it didn't come across that way, and teachers want to hear certain things, and they're in the trenches every day, and so they're facing these challenges. But I think it's that culture can be established by that walkthrough form that she came up with. It was a non-threatening form. It was designed. It was built in that way, and so it's looking at those little ways that you can track what's going on, that you can build the positivity with the communication that you have, that you're in there, you're supporting them, but then you also have those expectations. So it's a fine line. It's hard to do that, and especially with some of the negative that's coming in, what you hear. The word burnout. When a teacher hears that and they hear it at a certain time, it's a challenge. And so I think that's what, as leaders, we're fighting every day. And there's going to be no, it may be this way that you're trying to set the culture, but then you may have to readjust based off of how the school year's gone, whether it's absences on a certain team so there's a constant readjustment there.
Dr. Marlowe, so Nancy offers in the chat, relationships are critical. And then Will chimed in and said she seemed so intentional about being in classrooms and interacting with students. She knew them and they knew her. How important are relationships in the work that we do?
Well, it's really hard to lead when people don't even know you, if you know their name. My first principal, I promise you, he didn't know my name. So it's very hard to lead people if they don't feel seen. And I think that's part of building a culture, is that people, and in the instructional coaching level, you're kind of in that relationship building between the principal, admin, and the teachers. And it's really important that you understand how to communicate that culture, especially as we have new teachers coming into the building every year, so that we can build a consistent model, that we're not reinventing our model every year or our culture. And what I heard her say in there was, we have a common language. And I believe that goes to that culture, that the language is our language. We know what the words mean. We know what we're supposed to do. So if we're exhausted and we're sitting at our desk and the principal comes in and says, remember, we're a student-centered building, that you kind of go, okay, yeah, I can push through just a little bit more. But that was kind of my thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of consistent practice, which we're going to get to in a minute, actually. But Leslie offers, be consistent, give clear expectations, use data, create relationships, build a culture of excellence full of personalization. Absolutely. We talk all the time about making sure that our schools are personalized and really care about our children, right? The school buildings are created for the children. But guess what? If we don't create some personalization for the adults in our building who are serving these children, they will not stick around. We have to nurture both sides, and that's hard to do. It takes a lot of effort and energy. And as a leader, it's really, really difficult. I'm not saying any of this is easy by a long shot. Beth offers building relationships and connecting with teachers and students. That I saw connections. Do you all agree that you saw connections? Lots of really meaningful connections. JR said being present for teachers and students. One of the things you're going to see in our next piece is talk about being present for teachers, professionals, adults, and the students. When the teachers are taken care of, and I don't mean a jeans pass every day. That's not what I mean. When the teachers are cared for and taken care of and heard and seen and validated, they will better serve the children in their care. That's the bottom line, right? Nancy says, model the love and interest towards students and teachers and acknowledge the impact that each are making. The reality is that our schools and our faculties would be different without the teachers who have been handpicked and hand chosen to be on there, and our schools would be different if we had different children sitting in the seats.
Sarah,
yes, please.
I was gonna pick up. When I presented on this at the conference last year, and one of the things talking about the culture, and I can tell from a personal example, we established a coaching. One of our admin, he was a curriculum coordinator, and I didn't want him being evaluative. I wanted him to go in and non-threatening, and so he was a coach. He did these coaching conversations, and this year, so last year, fantastic implementation. Teachers were non-threatening. You were able to meet with them. It was just a really good way to change how that was going. Great culture. Well, the first part of this year, he wasn't able to do that because we were triaging. We have 3 vacancies still right now. So he was having to triage that. And I've noticed a quick switch. Jean mentioned things are fluid sometimes. Culture can be changed in a whim.
Yeah.
And your decisions as a leader can really impact. And so we've gotten able to get back into that. And it's that culture, you feel a little bit of a relief and a little bit of an ally now for those teachers, because now there's this bridge and this gap that was there. And so you can see that, and you can see what she's done intentionally and some of those ways that can make that happen.
Absolutely. This is, everything in our business is about intentionality, right? Nothing happens on accident. Sometimes I wish happy accidents would take place, but it never works. It never works out that way. All right, join me real quick to take a look at the importance of consistency when we're talking about a learning culture. So just a little background about this, and she'll tell you a little bit more. But this leader took over a school in the Bronx, and this school was being phased out. They were getting ready to bus these children to a new location, new building, and look what she did.
I am a Concourse Village scholar, destined for success, educated by the best teachers on earth.
What we're doing at our school is we're all working toward the same goal. We're all speaking the same language. We're able to have common conversations across all grade levels so that it doesn't matter what class your child ends up in. Every parent can rest assured knowing that their child is receiving a high-quality education.
My achievements will leave a lasting impression on the world.
Concourse Village Elementary School is located in the South Bronx, and we are categorized as the poorest congressional district in the nation. However, by visiting our school, you would never think that, and that's something that I'm really proud of. When I was a teacher, it was about who was the best teacher in the building. And every year, the children needed to relearn a new system, a new language, a new structure, and it didn't benefit them in any way. I wanted to create a school where teachers felt community, where everyone knew the children, where we felt like a family, and where systems were in place for everyone to be successful, not just the students, but also the teachers. In 2013, I walked into a situation where the school that existed was being phased out. So I did inherit the children from the phase-out school, and there was a major deficit across all content areas.
So what does increase mean?
We looked at the reading levels, and we saw that they had a low literacy rate. And research said if they're not reading on or above level by 3rd grade, the likelihood of them ending up in prison increases. So the first year was very challenging. We were trying to come up with a plan and see, okay, how are we going to make sure that all the children are reading on grade level so that they're prepared?
Thoughtful readers. Thoughtful readers. Summarize what they learned from the text. Summarize what they learned from the text.
When I was a reading specialist, I did a lot of research on reading programs and what really worked. Immediately, collaborative reading was a tool that I brought into the school because I knew that would align us across grades and support creating great readers.
The cat was walking down the street in his new white shoes.
Initially, a lot of people did not understand the concept of collaborative reading. So ensuring that all teachers have professional development and understood the research behind it was vital.
So the first thing that we do is to make sure that we know what the question is asking, right?
Once the teachers started to see the progress and the students' reading levels started to spike up and our children were starting to feel really proud and confident, they were on board. Today, we infuse literacy at all costs, at all times, in all content areas. So you'll see literacy in art.
What would it feel like to be on the street in this collage? Provide evidence from the work to support.
In math, you will see children engaging in the 3-read protocol.
The gist of the story was each round they get a certain amount of points.
And they'll use the problem-solving procedure to annotate text.
So, do we agree with her so far?
Another great practice that is implemented school-wide are the participation cards.
Remember to use your participation cards to agree or disagree with Owen.
These practices that are consistent staples are what allows us to create success. Regardless of what grade the child is in and how they progress throughout the school, the child still has the same consistency. When the situations are predictable, the children feel a lot safer, and so do the teachers.
Have a great weekend.
We have a motto that we're a community of one, and no doors are closed, no one is an island here. And we're sharing best practices because we want to be the best we can be for our children.
All right. What would you say is a consistent practice at your school? Where was it born, and what motivates professionals at your school to jump on board? One of the things that I want to accentuate about that piece specifically is the following. She says in that piece, she says, when situations are predictable, people feel safer. When we have systems in place that support the young people as well as the professionals who love and serve them, then people feel safer. And when people feel safer, they are more readily able to produce positive outcomes. The outcomes we're looking for in learning, the outcomes we're looking for in SEL awareness, the outcomes we're looking for in general community building. I mean, that's just a reality. So what would you say, Jean, is a consistent practice at your school that you're especially proud of? And, you know, what motivates the professionals in your building to sort of jump on board with it?
I inherited a program that I was left with something really good to follow in with. And in terms of what we've done with Schools to Watch, there are a lot of elements with Schools to Watch that we've been able to do. I think one of the things that we've really worked hard on in the last few years especially is trying to reach our kids and meet their needs in terms of social emotional awareness and social emotional learning as well. What we've done is we've increased a presence in our building with social workers. We've brought in some extra counselors and behavior specialists we have that's in the building with us 3 days a week. We've added some CTE this year, and it's been, we've done some really good things, I believe, in terms of that. And it's driven our own school counselors who have been with us prior to my tenure, even to become better at what they do, to become better engaged with the kids and better engaged with the professionals in the building as well. And you mentioned those systems; those are things that we've had to work on and build on and learn. But I think we're finally getting through to a population in our building that really needs that awareness. We're changing every day as far as our demographics is in terms of we were not a Title I school until a couple of years ago, and the family unit has changed in our population and where we live now as well. So we're adjusting and having to take the systems we've had in place, but the social emotional approach that we've worked into is becoming a really beneficial part of our culture. And teachers are now trying to, it took a little while for them to try to understand what purpose that it served to have these extra people in the building, but they see it now. They come to us and say, I really think this kid would be a good candidate to have a contact with the social worker, because we believe there's some things going on that they need some help with outside of school and such. So I'm really proud of what we're doing, not just in our school, but as a district, to bring those resources to our kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that one of the things that I heard and I heard from your description as well as from the piece was the fact of the matter is that success begets success. Mm-hmm. And as a leader, Dr. Dobbins, whatever you can do to bring success, even little bits, little drops, little smidges of success will get people to bite. Is that really, I think that's the magic bullet, the silver bullet is success begets success. What's the role of the principal in the success, in bringing success to their teachers? That feeling, even if it's an illusion, you got to fake it till you make it, right? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's like an athletic team. You're once you find that victory, you're going to come back. Somebody talks about, I can play golf bad all day long, but on the 18th hole, I'm going to hit a great fairway shot. So I'm going to come back next time. And so when a teacher sees that light bulb come on because of a practice we've talked about, they see that light bulb come on in the student, then what we've done and some of those procedures and things that we have tried to build across our school, it makes sense. They buy in, that builds their success, that builds their motivation to implement what we're doing even further. And then that one then carries into the culture. It carries into everything. So to see those things, and as a leader, you got to have that 1,000-foot vision of really, the students this year were different than the ones last year. And and I feel like, and I see it, and I'm sure y'all do in your schools, we're coming off of COVID. I feel like some of our students we're getting back to kind of what's normal. So now we're not playing as much catch up with certain areas as we are. And so getting some of those, keeping those consistencies there and then keeping that moving. But yeah, it's finding those little bit of light bulb and then highlighting those and having that faculty share out. And then that will carry across to the other areas with your new teachers and the turnover that you have there.
Absolutely. So Kyle, it is I think it's a misnomer and I don't believe it. I work with some phenomenal assistant principals, but some people believe that all assistant principals care about are cell phones and how well you sit at the lunch table. But Will says we have 3 non-negotiables that are announced every morning: hall behavior, phones, and IDs. These are reiterated every morning, and it's good to have everyone on the same page every day. Talk to me about the importance of consistency within your systems at school from an AP perspective.
Sure. So, when I got to Fisher, frankly, there weren't a lot of consistencies in those types of procedures. So after my first year, we kind of went back and revamped everything and put in consistencies with that. And we've tightened that down even further this year. And that is one of the things. We actually have the students read the announcements and they read it, and the teachers check the dress code. We tweak some things just based off of teacher feedback. But the key for me as an assistant principal is really whatever we have put in place, be it ID, dress codes, telling teachers, like one of the things we're implementing now is we're telling the teachers we are coming to them. And I told the science department chair, I was like, give us some feedback on what you want to see. So then we go and we actually inspect what we expect. So it's not just the rules and the procedures, but it's the consistency from the instructional piece as well. And really the teachers that I've worked with, they basically, if they know what to expect, they're willing to do it. If you give them the tool, my role really is just giving them the tools to be successful and to be able to help the students best.
Absolutely. Because if we, again, success begets success, right? So Leslie offers standing at the door during class change and greeting the students helps with hall behavior and makes students feel welcome as they enter. You know, this idea of feeling included, seen as part of the community, you know, Dr. Marlowe, you work with folks who are coming from a very external outside place. How do you help them? Because it can be scary in an American school. American schools operate much quicker, much faster, at a much higher rate of speed. The pace is higher. People are louder. There's more students in the buildings than some of the international teachers that we welcome on board. How do you sort of help them? How do you sort of help your teachers that you're coaching? How do you help them to overcome that moment? I mean, I could just imagine my tummy hurting when I look up and I see 30 children sitting in front of me, louder than any group I've ever experienced in my whole life. And somebody somewhere decided I know something about math. And it's like, welcome aboard. How do you coach them over that, you know, like that threshold?
Well, they do know something about math, and that's the key. The other part is the hard part. So we can get past the hard part. The math is the easiest part. What I have seen over the past 9 weeks as I have worked with these teachers is the need for very clear expectations from the principals and the instructional staff. You know, what do we expect to see in the classroom? For even behaviorally, and I can see this in many, I'm in 15 different buildings, but what is normal in our classroom? Is it normal for our kids to have their phones out? Is it not? Is it normal for them to be able to go to the bathroom throughout the entire class period? Is it not? What is our expectation in the building? What is our team's expectation? And that team just really helping to take that teacher on and not think of them from a deficit mentality, and really, you know, loop that teacher in so that that teacher doesn't decide to go home or take another career. Because if that teacher leaves, then those kids are probably going to be in your classroom. So it's just really important to holistically bring that teacher in and help them with the terms that we use in our school, the norms in our school. What time do we do things? Really just be very basic before we get to that macro level of the instruction.
For sure. Agreed. Beth says clear communication. It was like she was reading your mind, Julie. Clear communication of school policies, procedures, and events across all grade level. You know, and Jean offers clear communication may not be as clear as we think sometimes. Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely true. 100%. And this can be a challenge, you know, for the best communicators among us. I mean, there are leaders, you know, that we know who believe that they are exceptional communicators. And the reality is that sometimes things get by us, right? The rate of speed, we talked about the rate of speed at which information is flying around our schools. And the reality is that professionals, when they are surprised, just like the children that they you know, serve, when people are operating in a place of surprise, a place of weird fear about what's going to happen because they don't know what to expect, then what happens is that the product that we're seeing is just not as good as it should be, as it could be. And so clear communication is absolutely 100% vital to the functioning of our schools. 100%. All right, so now I want to shift it to our final topic for tonight. And I want each of our guests tonight to think about what has your journey looked like to where the chair that you're sitting in tonight. What has your journey looked like? All right, so let's see. Here we go. All right, what does your journey look like to leadership?
couple of things we're going to cover today. One is a midday block schedule for next year so we could actually start planning now.
It's not easy being a principal these days. Among other things, you've got to be a financial wizard.
Well, I think we need to look at what the priorities in the budget are going to be.
A savvy politician.
Bell South Foundation for our grant.
And an educational visionary.
There has to be exploration, and it has to be decided by the children, not by the teachers.
And you've also got to know what to do with the kid who's throwing food in the cafeteria.
Since I saw you last and actually talked to you about that, he proceeded to throw a slushie clear across the cafeteria.
With daily challenges and mounting pressures, it's perhaps not surprising that 40% of current principals are planning to retire in the next decade.
So what do you think we should do with them now?
We need to sit down with them because we just can't have this kind of behavior happening, on a constant level.
Problem solving is nothing new to Rich Cooter, who spent years as a classroom teacher and assistant principal. But in his first year as principal of Eisenhower Middle School in Wyckoff, New Jersey, he has to come up with all the right answers all the time.
Keep the kids in the center and start to cut from the outside.
As a first-year principal, you have to get a sense of the culture of how things are done in the school. There's sort of the written rules about how things work, and then there's the unwritten rules about how things work. And you really need to be attuned to those and work not only to understand it, but then also, if need be, change some of those operating assumptions.
Okay, very good.
You certainly need a person who can think on their feet and come to creative solutions.
That there's a slight itinerary change in the Philly trip.
A good leader is a person who can relate to people and have them come along on a mission, have them grab on and engage with that mission and see it to its finality.
All right. So, Jean, what was your journey like to becoming a principal? And if you had one piece of advice to someone who may be on the call or watching later and thinking, I really want to be a principal, like that's really where I want to be. What's a piece of advice you'd give them about how to proceed on that journey?
In terms of advice, my father gave me the best advice possible. When I told him I was interviewing to be a principal, it was be careful what you ask for. Because you don't know what's coming at you. The unexpected things are there. I guess my journey, I was a band director and we were in an economic downturn for the second or third time in my career. And I got tired of seeing people cut the arts out of their programs, the arts programs out of their schools and their districts and stuff. And I just felt like I could make an impact that way. What I have discovered in my journey is that I've been lucky enough to work in places where they're safer than I thought they were. And I've learned a lot about kids and preparing kids, not just for college, but for the workplace. And I guess my thinking has shifted somewhat in terms of that too. In terms of leadership and fostering leadership, I think it's just so important that the people that come to us, assistant principals, I have learned so much in my job as a principal from the assistant principals that I have experienced along the way, because they keep me grounded. They keep me I keep my finger on the pulse of things around the building, and they have ideas. I'm far enough removed from the classroom now. I have an assistant principal that holds me accountable, and she's not so far removed from the classroom. So I invite that. I don't want somebody that's going to come in and tell me yes all the time. I want somebody that's going to challenge me to get better as what I am. I would say that part of my journey too, and I've grown quite a lot in the last 2 years with a new superintendent. When I started, I had a brand new superintendent as well. And while he was learning the new job and the community and the culture, which I had been immersed in for many years, I didn't necessarily get the support I felt like I needed from that leadership, and I had to go out and seek those that were in the job for years ahead of me. So, it is a journey, and you've got to have some foresight to know that you're going to need help, and you need to be open to ideas from others, even if they are not teachers, I learn a lot from teachers in the building too, but that journey, you got to be open-minded to people coming to you to bring things to you, even if you don't agree with what they bring to you. You need to have, if you have a vision, it can't be tunnel vision. You've got to be able to see outside of that tunnel and take in those things that are going to be relevant and helpful to your school and your community.
Yeah, 100%. But it's so hard, many leaders are very A-type personalities who have arrived in their chair because they are exceptional. But guess what? If we could lift this if one person could lift this by themselves, we would have already done it like 100 gajillion times over. So we have to be able to harness the power of all the members on our teams to be able to grow together, to work toward the common goals. Yes, Nancy offers, seek mentors on your journey. You need a mentor that you're going to call when you're having a good day and you want someone to celebrate with you. I love those phone calls. But you also need someone that you're going to call on the way home when you need to have a good cry, but and it's like, you need to tell them how horrible it was today. So, like you need like a variety of mentors, and that doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. And it definitely does not make you weak. It makes you smart. Dr. Marlowe, talk about your rise to power. I'm just kidding. Talk about your journey. Talk about your leadership journey. Yeah, right.
There is no power here. No. I've been out of the classroom now this is my 7th year, and have an admin degree, and I'm still on my journey. I don't think I'm done yet. But I have stuck in I am in the instructional world because I do value the humans that I work with so much, and I value their importance at keeping our children growing and learning. And I think we have to remember the value and importance of every single teacher in every building and what they do. And so for me, that is always my vision, is to listen to what they're saying, give them the space to be who they are, and try to help them be to the next best self that they can be.
Absolutely. Who is someone along your journey that comes to mind that you're like, that person pushed me, and I'm grateful for them?
Gosh, I have a couple of my, are you talking about me?
Yeah.
I think my last 2 principals, Stephen Sokol is an incredible leader, and he really helped me think outside the box and grow myself. And then I had another principal at Hughes Academy, who his leadership style was not really a type A leadership style, but he had a growing leadership style where he would ask you questions and make you think about, well, is this the best possible option, or is there something better? So, allowing people to, not necessarily telling them what to do, but guiding them to what you think is the right answer by making them understand it, I think is a true leadership style that helps people truly grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Kyle, so what is your leadership journey look like, and where do you who has been the most helpful to you along the trajectory? What are you looking forward to in the future as a leader in education?
Well, for me, my journey was not quick or easy. It actually took me quite a long time to get to where I am now. So I would say, I always tell my students, and I tell them, I say, really the only difference between someone who's successful and unsuccessful is the person who's successful didn't give up. And so it's one of determination and hard work and grit. That's really it. I've had, several people, Alyssa Cox, she's now I think secondary, she's kind of similar to what Dr. McDonald does, but for York 1. And then my principal that I have now is great. He puts me in positions to be able to lead. Dr. McDonald advises me on a lot of different things. I've had a lot of good people, but really one of my core beliefs as a leader is, I've always said, if I forget that the teacher is the most important person in the building, then I shouldn't do what I do, because really they're the ones that touch the kids on a daily basis. They're the ones that put up with the snarky attitudes. They're the ones that have to answer the emails. They're the ones that have to go home and grade the papers and sacrifice and go work through their lunch and all the things like that. And really that's what my belief is in a leader, that my core existence is to make sure that I remove as many barriers as possible and do as many things just to allow them to do the thing that they were hired to do, and that's teach kids, love kids, and support kids.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. I totally agree. I love that. I want to hear, like, I want to say an amen. Like, I'm about to throw hands there, Kyle. That's
Preach.
awesome.
Preach.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you bring up a variety of really good points. I mean, we have to value all of the professionals in the building for what they can contribute to this, to this collage of, of our learning communities, because everybody has a value. Everybody's here for a reason. Dr. Dobbins, your journey to your desk, and what does that look like, and talk to us a little bit about your journey to principalship.
So kind of if I stayed on the path that I was going to be on, I would still be in college athletics working as an athletic trainer. But the journey is kind of it's very individualized. And I learned when I got into administration, I've got to be who I am. And as a leader, as a person, you're going to have so many people who are around you, ahead of you, behind you, that you try to emulate, you try to see if they're successful. You say, I like that quality, I like those characteristics, but you really got to hone in on who you are as a person. Who I am as a principal is who I was as an athletic trainer, who I was as a teacher. And so I stepped true to that, and it's different from other models. And Keith Price is probably the person who I can remember. He's a superintendent over at Georgetown now. But Keith, when he was in Richland too, he said, grow where you're planted. And I took that to heart. And that was one of those things that, I just took every opportunity. I soaked up what worked for me, and I'm trying to give those around me the same opportunities. And like Kyle was saying, like, the teachers are the focus of everything I do. Students are there. And it's my journey. I never thought I would get my doctorate. I never thought I'd get this, but be in this position. And it's not about a position. It's about just an opportunity to impact more. And so every opportunity that came is, I can have a greater impact on student success or student achievement, or I can be a better person and to help the community. And so, it's really sticking to who you are. And you really gotta internalize kind of and focus on that, because you can get really pulled in a lot of directions. And there's so many now in the role of a principal. We were talking about the other day, there's so many new requirements, just like there are as a teacher. You can easily get burned out if you don't have the people around you, if you don't maintain that focus and stay to who you are.
Absolutely, 100%. So while I want to invite I want to actually turn it over to Mr. Jenkins. So Mr. Jenkins, get ready. You got to make sure you turn on the camera. Are you here? All right. Okay.
I'm got it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So I do, and I want to ask you about your journey as a leader. That's important to us, and I want you to share about that. But I want to encourage everyone to go ahead and drop some good questions for these leaders in the chat, and anything's fair game. Anything's fair game. So Mr. Jenkins, share with us about your journey to leadership and where you sit behind the desk.
All right. I am not in the best position for a camera on, and so I apologize for that. And for those that are going to be watching this later, Sarah ambushed me here.
Hardly.
So, yeah, that's great. So just quick. I'll be concluding year 20, all 20 years in middle level education this year, and somewhere around 10-ish years or so of that in administration and middle level. I think the wisdom is really in the room, and what the panelists have already kind of shared. It's keeping the focus on the teachers in the building. We talk often in my own building, and when I have opportunities to talk like this, that outside of the students in the building, teachers in the classroom that have direct impact with the students every day are the most important people in the building, and everyone else is there to support the work that happens there. And sometimes that comes with some hard truths with folks on campus who have really, really important jobs. And But the reality of it is the folks that are inside those classroom walls are doing everything that everybody else on campus has to do. Everything on campus they have to do. They're instructional coaches as mentors for new teachers. They're putting out fires and investigating discipline issues that happen on a daily basis, just like an administrator. They're handling the parents. I think Kyle said that. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And then I think in terms of journey, you know, the collaborators in our business are the most successful ones.
Yep.
And remembering, you know, for all of us, we stand on the shoulders of others, whether that's the influence of our parents growing up and the support system we have in our families to put the hours in and deal with the stresses that come with the deal that we signed up for. But even inside the work life, there are people who fostered us, mentored us, believed in us, gave us opportunities. And so taking, you know, the role seriously, not disappointing those people that helped us get where we were is a key component of it. And being that for others, trying to then give back to those people that are desiring to move in this direction, or that we see the capacity in them to move in this direction. And so working in that way to bring in others. So yeah, I think that's, you know, that's kind of the thing. For me personally, it was a very iterative process. I never went in and said, oh, here's the organizational chart, circle, this is the one I want. It really just, it was just an iterative process. I was classroom teacher. I tried to, I think Paul said it, you know, grow where you're planted. I wanted to be the best teacher I could be. And over time, I began to realize that, hey, I can broaden that scope and have more impact. And then you just kind of take that one step at a time. Not to get cliche, but I always often refer to, there's a chapter in the Good to Great book where one of the leaders they're interviewing was kind of coming more from that humble leader place. And he said that he never stopped trying to be qualified for the job. So on a daily basis, just constantly trying to become qualified. And that's, I think Gene touched on that, right? It's listening to those fresh perspectives that come in when sometimes you've been doing a certain thing for a while or in a certain place for a while, and allowing space for those conversations to challenge your thinking and continue to get better. So this was a great conversation, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. So Nancy asked, what is an example of a way you care, advocate, communicate for, I'm going to say, etc., at all, with your teachers and staff? So we'll volley this to anybody who wants to take it. What's one example of a way you care for, advocate for, communicate with your teachers and staff in your school?
Well, we do simple things like we do a monthly staff hangout thing. We also were, you know, kind of getting October tired in September. So we were kind of hearing some of those October grumblings about mid-September. So we met, I created a feedback form for our teachers just to be able to, you know, share their feedback. We gave them time during our faculty meeting just to be able to share if they wanted to publicly. And then we've taken those ideas and we've been implementing them in some of the changes that we've been making of things that they were concerned about. We do Teacher of the Month. They get different recognitions where we give them duty-free lunches and different things like that. And really just taking time to listen to them when they have those weak moments and, you know, need that vent time, and you just close your laptop and listen to them, and that's really all they need. They don't need you to do anything. They just need you to hear them.
Yeah, awesome. Dr. Dobbins, let's see. Leslie says, what's one essential trait found in all successful leaders, do you think?
Adaptability. I think because right now, I mean, you think of what we went through with COVID and then now coming out of COVID, and just no matter what level you're at, just that adaptability to see a situation. I'll be honest, when a phone rings, I get the jitters because I don't know what that other end of the phone call is, or if they call you to the front office, that parent, you know, just being able to understand and just kind of roll with it, and, you know, your demeanor and how you roll with whatever it is important.
Gene, what is one must not have trait to be a successful leader, the trait that will cause any leader to fail?
You're not the boss. The buck might stop at your desk, but you're not the boss. You need to be a collaborator. You need to be somebody that's got your teachers' backs. You've got to be somebody that's a cheerleader for everybody in your building. bus drivers, cafeteria workers. You're not the boss. You're not, if you're out front telling people what to do, you're not going to get things done. And you need to be a part of the team. You need to lead the team and bring out those leaders in your building to carry you through what's next.
And on that note, we are here at our final moment together before I turn you back over to Netflix and whatever it is that you're partaking here. I think Loki comes on at 9 tonight if you're still awake for its season premiere. But take a look there. Please don't be a stranger. I want to thank you for coming with us tonight. I'm going to stop the share for just a second, and I'm going to drop into the chat just kidding. There we go. I'm going to drop into the chat the link for tonight's Google form. And remember that if you wish to get a certificate for tonight's attendance, all you need to do is fill out the Google form, and I'll make sure that that you get a hold of it. All right. So final thoughts for tonight from SCAMLE and from my side of things. You know, some of the videos I showed you tonight for our stimulus texts were from elementary schools, and I actually did that on purpose. You know, here's the bottom line. Our kiddos can do, and our teachers can do, and they can all be great. They can all be great if we block out the noise, if we focus on the work, if we be kind to one another, if we're clear and consistent, and we live in the support that we want to offer to those that we serve, because true leaders serve those folks in their building, right? And just like Jean pointed out, you're not the boss. If you're out front giving orders, you don't know what's happening in the back. All right, with that, I say, be well, be blessed, enjoy your Netflix or Loki, whatever it is for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. You all are a blessing. Go forth and lead and conquer and be wonderful and exemplary. And I thank you so much for your time tonight. Be well.